the appointment subcommittee for the meeting of June 27, 2016. Please come to order. Members of the appointment subcommittee are Councilor Keefe, Councilor McKenna, Councilor Morabito, Councilor Patch. Joining us here this evening also, Council President Jessica Giannino, Councilor Bob Hass, Councilor Ira Novoselsky, and Councilor Tony Zambuto. The first order of business is the communication from the mayor requesting a temporary residency waiver for Omar Boukili for the position of Chief Administrative Officer. Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Through you to the committee, pretty self-explanatory. We came up before the council a couple weeks ago and submitted a waiver request. As all of you know, the Chief Administrative Officer of the city, Omar Boukili, is a resident of Somerville. He has been actively seeking permanent residence in the city. Unfortunately, he has been unable to find anything. As you all can understand, the market is pretty hot right now, which is not a bad thing for the city, but is a bad thing in terms of trying to attract talented folks to live and work in the city. So with that, I am respectfully requesting that there be a waiver, and you'll notice that there is an end date to the waiver. I think it's important for folks who work in the city to at least make the attempt to live in the city. I don't want to limit the quality of folks that can come to work for the city, and I will be honest that there may be people who want to work for the city who are not going to be able to move in. And in those events, I would look to the council to make sure that they feel comfortable with the quality of the candidate and the experience that they have, and make exceptions. With that said, I think that Mr. Boukili's resume speaks for itself. I think his ability and his work ethic over the first 6 months of my administration have been proof of the need, and I think proof of the proof that he deserves this waiver, and proof that he is exactly the type of person that we want working for this city.
Well, Mr. Mayor, you during the budget hearing process, you clearly spelled out in detail what you thought of Mr. Boukili and why you wanted him as your assistant, and why you recommended this residency waiver based on those conditions, that all the criteria that you saw fit as a number 2 person in your office. Mr. Boukili fit in that position, and I'm sure that the members who were in attendance that evening are well aware of what your intentions were at that night. So this time I offer it out to any members of the subcommittee. Councilor Keefe, Councilor McKenna, Morabito, and Patch. Any one of them wishing to speak? Councilor Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have just some real brief questions. I do appreciate and recognize that Mr. Boukili is doing a phenomenal job. I've worked with him in a prior relationship through the city of Somerville, and I know he was a top aide to the mayor of Somerville. And I want him to do well in the city of Revere, and I want him to be able to help you, because the better you're at your job, the better we are as a city. I just want to make sure, and I'm more than willing to give him the time to find the right place. I don't want him to have to rush into buying a property or finding a place that isn't what's right and then having to re-up and do it again as a homeowner. We know how tough it can be. I want to make sure that if we grant this waiver, we will not come back here in 12 months and have another waiver in front of us, or some sort of an extension, or to try and bypass it. I would expect within 1 year, I have your word as the mayor, that he will be living in the city.
You absolutely have my word that there will be no extensions.
Any other members of the subcommittee wish to speak? Any other members wishing to speak? Councilor Hass.
To you, Mr. Chairman, when I worked for Chelsea, we got a waiver also. It was a waiver basically not limited, but again, we did get a we did get a waiver from the city council of Chelsea. So it's not new, it happens all the time. If you want the proper person and the most qualified position for the job, you select who you think is the best. Thank you.
Well, I
And to your
honestly-
point, Councilor,
Mayor,
Mr. Chairman,
there you go.
I appreciate the leeway. To your point, Councilor, I think the conversation about what the right mechanics are of how we make sure that we're attracting talent to live into the city, but we're not limiting. I don't want to limit myself in terms of the quality of individual. If I have a very, very qualified person who has extensive experience and has deep roots in a home that, is, say, Everett, Chelsea, or Malden, do I expect, and does the council expect him or her to uproot their family and move into the city? There is, I think, a conversation to be had about it, and I know Councilor Zambudo has mentioned this also, about the fact that maybe we look at the entire residency requirements and whether or not there's some kind of happy medium so that we don't end up limiting ourselves and the ability for the administration to have qualified candidates that, that may be outside of the community. I think first and foremost in my head is the water and sewer superintendent that is in the budget this year that I'm going to be looking to hire. That person, I would like to have a very qualified engineer who understands water and sewer systems. Now, that person may be in the city. The city is a city of 55,000 people, and the pool is a little bit limited. So we want to make sure that we have very, very qualified people who can do the job and make sure that it's a transparent process. Thank you.
Well, I want to make sure that everybody in the audience attending and also those at home watching, this is not something new. This is something the city of Revere has been doing for several years. And when the mayor comes up and speaks that he wants somebody within his administration who lives out of the city, yet has made a commitment to move to our city, we honor that request. And certainly, when a mayor comes before us and asks of this privilege, I think it's behooving us to take heed to it and vote for it, because the mayor is forming his staff and he's forming his administration. And I know that everybody's intention is to do the right thing for our community, and the right thing for our community right now is for the city council to assist the mayor in his endeavor in trying to make Revere a better place to live. So having said that, I'll ask for a vote. All in favor?
Speak on the issue, Mr. Chairman, with all due respect.
Former Councilor William Bell, please
Thank
come
you.
to the podium, state your name and address for the record, please.
My address is 235 Revere Street, Revere. I have no problem with the mayor picking his most trusted aide for city government. I think all mayors have that right. But I put the ordinance in several years ago. There were no loopholes except for state exemptions, police, firefighter, etc. I saw this council vote a few years ago, probably less than 2 years ago, about a waiver for a woman looking for a library job. At least one councilor voted no, saying there was no disrespect for the person, something to that effect, but that council was all for Revere residents getting, and that job only paid $25,000. Now, either you have a residency ordinance or you don't. This is 6.5 months later. You want to vote for that, fine, but I really feel that $60,000 plus that was paid to the mayor's assistant, whatever you call him, CFO, should be paid back, because the laws should be done consistently, not because a woman lives in Malden. Some people vote against that. Other people are deterred from applying in Revere because the ad said Revere residents. I heard from at this council meeting a few weeks ago, another council mentioned more than one name. I don't know anything about the other person. In this particular case, the mayor, I feel, should have the right to to appoint his own executive guy, but the rules should be followed consistently, not haphazard. One person running for office made that a big issue in the last few years. That's all I have to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you. A vote, roll call or a vote, a show of hands. All in favor, all opposed? So ordered. We will vote this out favorably, the subcommittee this evening fully, and I don't think there's any need for you, Mr. Mayor, to stay in attendance based on the fact there's a majority of councilors here. If they had any objection, they would raise it now, and I look forward to a favorable vote this evening. Thank you for your attendance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to the council.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
Mayor. Next order of business is the application of William Levy, 420 Revere Beach Boulevard, as a constable for the city of Revere. This is a new application. William, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, please.
Sorry. My name is William Levy, and my physical address is 420 Revere Beach Boulevard.
Welcome. Any members of the subcommittee having anything to say? Seeing none. Well, William, the constable's role is number one. You never serve a subpoena to Arthur Guanasso. But and all kidding aside, it's a responsible position and one to be taken seriously. Do a good job for our city and town. Make sure that everything goes well, and congratulations, and we look forward to a good public service for our community. Again, William, there's no need for you to stay in attendance for the Committee of the Whole's meeting. There's quite a few members of the council here, so it would suffice that you would be approved this evening.
Thank you.
Sometime thereafter, you can contact the city clerk's office for any documentation you might need.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, and congratulations.
Appreciate
Do a good job for our city. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This concludes the meeting of the Appointment Subcommittee for the meeting of June 27, 2016. Thank you for your attendance.